Hello and welcome to World of Tanks Replays presented by War Eternal. I'm your host, Mark, and today we're going to take a look at the German Tier 9 Leopard PTA. Medium tank, super fast, armor's a little light, good gun, a really solid tank. Actually all of these tanks are pretty solid. There's not a lot of them that are going to be really bad early on. We're going to get into some of the bad ones later, but for now, it's the tanks are going to be good. So, first thing we're going to end up with is we're going to go through 3 games. I haven't looked at them in a little while, but they should be really good. Since it's a medium tank, we're not looking at a lot of scouts. We're going to be basically looking at damage, mobility, that kind of thing that we're going to be looking at a lot for these medium tanks. So let's hop over. Let me get it booted up. Probably should have had this done beforehand, but that's okay. So I'm going to get it booted up, and then we're going to get over and get it started as soon as it boots up. So we've got a good game here. Top tier, a lot of tier 9s, a couple of tier 8s on Airfield. Airfield is a nice map for a lot of tanks. The heavies kind of get stuck going only to one flank, but it provides medium tanks with a lot of opportunities because there's a lot of cover and a lot of different places they can go. Now, if they decide to play with the heavies, they always have that option, but that's not necessarily the best option we can. Okay, let's speed forward here through the intro. There we go. So, looks like Gabriel. So, Gabriel, maybe? Maybe the name Gabriel 911 could be Gabriel. It's hard to type. Him and his platoon mate El Predicador from Phoenix. So good tanks, tier 9. I'm surprised they're not sticking together, but that's all right. So our Leo hero is going to be headed off to the right flank. Now again, as most things, game 1 is our standard game. And then we'll see the top plays on games 2 and 3. So he's kind of taken an early position, but he has almost no cover. And this could be a problem if your team decides that they don't want to push out. And from looking at the language, it looks like we have either it's likely Spanish, but since I'm not really good, it's either Spanish or Portuguese, which means probably from South America. Could be Central too. We don't want to judge. Central South America is where our replay originates from. So he's gone up and he's spotted, and he's had almost zero support from the heavy tanks, which, considering that there are no tier 9 heavy tanks, isn't all that surprising. We've got the platoon T95s that are going to be slow as molasses. And here he is. He's already basically trying to give up. But I think that what he needs to realize is that he doesn't have any real true heavies. So he's basically already given up, which is not a good sign. But thankfully he doesn't seem to totally give up on the match. He just is telling his team that basically he thinks that they're all scrubs and they all need to die in a fight. We'll see how this plays out for him. We got an IS-3 that's almost dead. T-95s are finally rolling up. We'll see how this goes. So he's repositioning now since he doesn't have the armor to tank up on that roll, he's got to make sure that he can get those shots in. Now, the one nice thing about the Leopard line is that it has an extremely accurate gun. That's something that the Germans are actually known for. So if he's able to get up here and maybe make a play, then hopefully he'll be able to save his team. Now, it's not looking good, right? Being 0-4 isn't a good start, but he gets a good hit on that 54 E1. And somehow managed to get spotted way back there. That's amazing. Must have been when he fired. Alright, I got an E75 and no one challenging them on the hill, but he's in a good position to support those T-95s who are really going to hold that flank. I hear him for the artillery, but it looks like they've evened it up almost 3-4 after being 0-4. So that's a good start. He's going to try and take another shot. It's 54 E1 and misses. That was a bit of a snapshot, but I think he was really worried that he was going to get clipped by that 54 E1. Alright, so he's trying to see if he can get any shots off. He's playing very, very passive, but he understands that he's actually at a disadvantage. Especially considering that the enemy tier 9s include an E75, a Centurion 7-1, a PTA, two 54 E1s, and a T30. Frankly, I would rather have that line out more than I would have the two T95s, because the T95s can be really good bunkers, but if you need them to push, it doesn't usually work very well. Tortoise takes a big hit. See if shoots the PTA. Bounces the PTA. That was a lucky bounce there. Must have gone into the gun mantlet there. Would have gone anywhere else, it probably would have penetrated. I'm surprised he's not shooting at the Tortoise here. Yeah, like that. The Tortoise has a lot of armor, but really, if you can hit that cupola, they go down pretty quick. So, take another shot. Cupola. German accuracy is beautiful, and he lands it. Takes down the Tortoise. That's a tier 9 down, which is good for them. So the tier 9s are all evened up. 5-5. And it's almost looking like they might survive this. He's got to get a little aggressive, though, because artillery has him nailed in. And because his light armor, and because there's two, even the low tier artilleries can do an absolute ton of damage to a lightly armored tier 9. And they would love to get themselves a tier 9. That's a lot of experience for a tier 6 and tier 7 artillery. Are they up to two together? They are. Figures. Alright, well now that they've actually managed to push off that side, he's trying to flank in. Wait for his gun to load. That right there is a bug in the replay mechanic. He waited long enough. He should have been almost entirely scoped in. So it looks like the... unfortunately, the replay system isn't actually showing the right aiming circle, so we'll just have to assume that they're scoped in. That aiming circle was pretty serious. Alright, so he's got a bunch of low tanks here. He's got a lot of opportunity to finish off. So he's going to go for his T30 first, take him out. Next shot needs to be either the IS-3 or the T-54. I would probably do the T-54 first if I were in his shoes. Definitely the more dangerous tank. Trying to figure out where he went. He buggered off. So if you can flank around, hit that T-54. Alright, it's a good use of auto-aim there, so we didn't have to worry about trying to get it around. This T-95 then should be able to hold off the 5100. And he's going to go up and try to get the other 54 he wants. And there it is. Oh, low roll. The gun on the Leopard PTA is a 390 alpha. That's why you saw things like that 424. Oh, managed to sneak a shot into the back of the turret. That was a clutch shot. And there comes his first big hit from... I'm not actually sure where that came from. It's about 400 damage. Could have been the IS-3 off the turret. Probably wasn't the E75, but it could have been. I said that Lova is just taking a beating. That was a stupid move by that Lova. He's that 5100 is 1800 damage average on a clip. Lova's only got 1650 hit points. Oh, he's just getting lit up right here. So a couple of good plays, a couple of bad. Could have been playing a lot smarter. That 5100 really wants him. But that might be, I wasn't counting shots, but he's probably only got a few. Actually, now that he's headed off, it looks like he's reloading. So the 5100 is done with shells. But thanks to this PTA has played fairly smart so far and managed to clean up quite a bit of this flank off the back of this T95, who has just sat there and taken an absolute beating. Because of that, our PTA here was able to really get in and do a considerable amount of damage. And we have to mention his friend as well. His platoon mate has also managed to stay alive pretty significantly. Still has 2 kills and has been a thorn in the side, so he's also been doing very well. So good play on both of them. Wasn't phenomenal by any means, but it was definitely a good, solid battle. Looking for artillery here. See if they're going to get the BIA. There's the brothers in arms. And they're just looking for the last artillery piece. He's probably hiding in a bush, or he's drowning himself. Which artillery tends to do, which I always get kind of frustrated with. I don't understand why you do that in an artillery piece, why you wouldn't try and, you know, get that last little bit of damage as they come on you. But I guess that's just me. I don't take the coward's way out. It's bad enough playing artillery, but to play the artillery and then kill yourself, that's pretty sad. So let's see what this artillery decided to do. Alright, he's been spotted, so he knows he's nearby. And there he is. He's way over there. What a spot by that M12. Oh, and just dodges it to secure the brothers in arms. Man, that would have been a clutch shot by that M12 if he'd have managed to land that. So, pretty standard game. Still, I mean, he played really well. He and his teammate got 8 kills between them, but it's one of those games where I think that he could have. I don't know if there's much more he could have done with a team like that, but he definitely played it right and played it well, and we saw a lot of really good play. All right, so next up, let me find the next game. This is on Stalingrad. Now, Stalingrad is the new map at a 9.3, 9.4. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it was 3. City map, good map. I really enjoyed it. It's got some bugs in it that they're still working on fixing, but I really enjoy the map. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, so we'll get in, we'll get going, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right, so let me hop back over into game number 2. All right, so here we see a tier 10 matchup. So this will be a nice battle for the PTA to really prove itself. My apologies if that last sentence sounded a little bit muddled. My throat's a little dry, so I have to make sure that I'm drinking fluids as I go. All right, let's skip through the opening part because that's boring. All right, so he's got his PTA outfitted for a little bit of scouting. You can see that he's got binoculars, set up so that if he's stationary for a couple seconds, he's going to get a 25% boost to his spotting range, which is already pretty good on this tank. Now he's going to come over here to the right side. Now the right side is fairly open. There's still a ton of cover. Excuse me. But we're going to see that he'll be able to play this side really well, especially in the quick medium that is the Leopard PTA. Alright, so here he's taking up his spotting position, and he's been spotted without spotting back. That's not good. I wonder what could have lit him up. Probably that T-49 right there. So managed to get him on the auto, which is pretty good. That was a good kill. I don't know what that T-49 was thinking. That was not a good play by him. That T-49 could have been very, very useful with tracking damage, with anything, but he just decided to do a suicide scout. And yeah, let the team know where everybody was, but now he's not useful anymore. Good clutch shot on that Waffenträger auf Panzervier. That's a dangerous, dangerous tank to have just lying around in the enemy team. He does a lot of damage and does a good reload, especially for a tier 9. And there's the Death Star. Good shot into the side of the turret there. Well done. So he's playing a big risk here, dueling with 2 tank destroyers, but he managed to hold his own, and the binoculars are helping out a ton. He's able to spot them without being spotted himself. Oh, and bounces a shell. Lucky him. That looks like it bounced off the top. Actually, that looked like an armor shot, which means it went into the gun mantlet, but didn't penetrate. So he's taking blind shots now. See what he can do. And now that the battle has been joined on their side of the map, he's got to relocate and see if he can't make something work over here. Got an IS-8 pushing through, put a shell in, but take one from that. M46. Drive her down to something he might want to consider repairing, because, yep, and there it is. Because without your driver, you're so slow, and in this tank, you really need to rely on your speed. Shell into the Patton. It's a good hit. They're definitely not fighting on the right side of this battlefield, though.
We didn't even scratch.
Takes a hit, but doesn't give one in return. He's got to take down this Patton if he's able to move, and the Patton can do this for quite a while. But I think he hits a lot harder. Oh, and it's not looking good now. 4 to 6. And they're losing hit points. Looks like they're also getting hammered on that other flank as well. This is not looking good. Oh, the Patton shows up finally, but gives and takes. So that Patton knew that he was probably sitting there and was already pre-aimed.
Target acquired. Target unlocked.
Really wants to shoot through this wall here. Nope, not going to happen. And there's the spot. Alright, so we've got a 54E1 and Death Star with only like one hit out of him. I don't think he can get a shot on this 54E1 unless he climbs that hill. 54 takes a big hit from the Waffenträger auf Panzervier, I think. Yep, definitely, and then gets killed by the E100, looks like. It could have been 2 shots by the E100, it's hard to tell. So he's only got 362, which means he's a one-shot, so he's got to play this really safe, but he hasn't really done enough damage yet. Oh, shoots through the wall and doesn't penetrate. But you wish you could have that shot back. So he's trying to figure out where everybody is. They're only down 2 tanks, which is good. Down 1 now, as the IS-8 goes down to the IS-7. But he's got to push up and maybe take out that Death Star if he can. One of the nice things is the Death Star only has a 90-degree turret rotation, 45 to the left and 45 degrees to the right. So if you can get behind him, you can really make him pay.
Ready to fire.
And here it is.
Penetration.
As long as he can stay behind the Death Star, there's nothing he can do. So the Death Star's going to try and play it smart
Target acquired.
and get around, but in order to do that, he has to turn all the way around and gets shot in the rear by that Waffenträger auf C-100. Smart play by our PTA here.
Target acquired.
Alright, he's going to take a shot at the Tiger II through the wall. And now he's got an E100. He's got a lot of tanks still to kill, but that E100 has been really dangerous. He's got 3 kills. Been a thorn on their side. But they have to be careful because that other flank is just completely and utterly gone. Lower plate of the E100 goes through. Beautiful. We've got a full health IS-7, which is very, very dangerous. A T-62A that is possibly a one-shot, but it's going to be a risk. They've managed to draw it up though, and they've got this corner held. They've got to push out, especially since they don't have their cap point defended really well. They're susceptible to cap pressure. Oh, M103. Oh, I bet you that M103 really wants that shell back. He clutch shotted it and didn't manage to put it into the PTA. Because of all the cover, the PTA is able to get out. So he's behind him a T-34. That's a juicy target. T-34 does 400 damage per shell, so if he gets a shot off, he'll kill the PTA.
Penetration.
The PTA is going to put a shell into him. If that T-34 was paying more attention, he'd have got the kill. Instead, he's looking at that Waffenträger. Oh, what a lucky damage roll. That M103 just did not get the damage that he needed. Because of that, the Waffenträger auf C-100, who really has been doing an absolute metric ton of damage, is able to get the kill there. He's on 4 kills, he's done a ton of damage, but this PTA has just been a thorn in the side of the enemy, and really, the Waffenträger auf C-100 was only able to do that much damage because he had support like this PTA. So PTA is going to finish up with 3 kills here. Oh, he bounces! Oh no! That IS-7 is looking for him. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, and he gets taken up by the Jagdtiger. What a lucky break. Well done to this PTA. So I know he only got 2 kills there, but it was still a really, really good match. He got really low early on, managed to pull back and do a lot of damage. Actually, I'm going to pull up the replay. Here we go. I'm looking at it right now. He did, that was 1,300 experience raw without premium. He got a mastery badge. He got a Confederate. He did 5,241 damage and spotted for 2,000. So he might not have gotten a lot of kills, but he did an absolute ton of damage. To compare, that Waffenträger that I was talking about, who had the 4 kills and was doing really well, only had 5,500. Yeah, 5,500. So between him and the PTA together, they combined for over 10,000 damage, which is phenomenal. So well done to that PTA. Great Confederate, really showcased how he can get in and brawl and use that mobility to kind of make other tanks miss, make them change targets. And if you ignore the PTA, then he's just going to wreck your day. He's got low armor, but such a good reload, such good accuracy, such a good gun. Speed is phenomenal. He'll get behind you. The play on the Death Star, the FE, the 183, was just perfect, the exact perfect thing. He knew the Death Star was rolling, and the damage on those heat shells that thing runs is like 2,000. I don't know if it's 1,750 or if it's 2,000. I can't remember. It's one of the two, but it's basically a one shot on that Waffenträger Alpha 100 consistently. And the Death Star knows that if he bounces one shell, that Waffenträger is dead 100%. So the PTA gets in behind him and gets the and doesn't get the kill, but forces him to turn around, and then he gets shot in the rear by that audio loader tank destroyer. Phenomenal play. All right, game number 3. I'm going to load up here in just a second. This is another ace tanker. This is something that we haven't seen very often. This is a Kolobanov's medal, which is awesome. You don't see these very often. Excuse me, I've got a little burp going on. Kolobanov's medal is when you take you go up solo versus 5 tanks and you win. So I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a good game. Let me pull it up. So game number 3. So these games have been pretty quick, but the PTA is one of those tanks where once it gets rolling, because it has a good reload, because it has good damage, and because we're talking tier 9, 10s and a lot of these things, the games just, they go. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. These games, it's just good solid play. You don't have a lot to worry about, hull down, nothing like that. Like if you roll in a PTA, you're just gonna, right? I mean, it's you're hammering in and you're ready to go. All right, let's hop over to the game. Check out game number 3. All right, we're gonna skip through this opening part. So, here we have Live Oaks. It's a tier 9 battle with just a few tier 9. This is a perfect opportunity for our PTA to roll really hard. As with most mediums, especially the lightly armored ones, he's going to go down the 0-9 line and go down the tracks towards the enemy base. This is a really, really smart play for mediums and lightly armored heavies because there's not a lot of cover and most of it is ranged, and that's where those kind of tanks excel. They also excel because they have speed on their side. So he's taken a slightly distant position, but that's okay because his scouts, the ELC, the 1390, have both pushed forward. The Bulldog takes up ELC, but that's not too big of a surprise. That ELC was platooned up with the 1390, so that was kind of an expected kill anyways. And now what we need is the spot. Got that WZ-120 who's moved up. Now I'd like to see him in the brawl a little bit more, but because the number of tanks over there, I think that his position is fine. He's in a good position to take shots on any tanks that are rolling, like that T-54. But because they were so preoccupied by killing that WZ-120, his teammates were, they weren't able to really get the shot off. So now the tanks are going to rush that T-54. And at this point, they spot out the T-69. So he's going to have to put a shell into the T-69. Nice high roll at 440 damage. And he's going to force that T-69 back. If he rolls around the side, like this, guess who gets another shell? The T-69 does. And now if he can get the reload, that T-69 is actually a kill right here. And there it is. So, getting rid of the T-69 was a really big boon to them. Because they are able to push up this flank. Now, unfortunately, the enemy team has absolutely dominated the town. And part of that is because they had far more heavies up there. Actually, significantly more heavies. But also, I mean, they're down an E75 and an IS-8 already. That's huge to lose your two top tier 9s like that. I mean, yes, his team managed to kill off a T-54 and a WZ-120. But losing an E-75 and an IS-8 in the city is massive. Those are both very, very tough tanks, especially in this matchup. So he's definitely doing the smart play here. And falling back to defend Cap, because he knows that there are a couple of tanks that are coming this way. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is trying to push through Cap. Now it looks like his friend here on the T-54 is very confident that they're going to be able to win this out.
We didn't even scratch them.
Gonna try to put a shell into that M103 and miss, but I saw damage go up. Oh, that must have been his friend who came back to help him out. Alright, so it's 6v6. So, can he take out the STI? Bounces off the upper plate. That STI is such a tough tank. Now, if you notice, the team that went to Cap didn't push forward. I mentioned this before in previous matches. If you go to Cap... I'm going to stop this here for just a second. Here's the thing. In this particular matchup, that's going to be really annoying, but that's okay, I'll leave it. So, they had overwhelming numbers pushing to Cap through the south. And what a lot of players will do is they'll think, oh, I'm going to defend Cap by sitting behind it or in it. You can't defend a position that only needs to be shot at by sitting behind it or in it. You have to push forward. You have to protect the Cap if you're capping by being in front of the Cap, not behind it. Behind it doesn't do any good. Unless you're a long-range tank destroyer, if you're a heavy, right, or even a medium, and you're sitting in Cap, capping, or you're sitting behind Cap especially, trying to pull that off, it doesn't work. So what you need to do is you need to push forward. You need to engage the enemy on their side of the Cap so that when they try to push forward, they have to engage you. And if they ignore you and your teammates who are pushing onto them, then you continue to Cap. And if they decide to go for Cap and try to get the reset, then you are unmolested and you get free shells. So it's always, always better to push through Cap and defend on the enemy's side of Cap than it is to defend on your side of Cap. And that's what we're seeing here, right? You can look at the mini-map, right? We have a guy in G1, a guy in G4, a guy in Cap J2. Let me go back here so you can look. So we have a guy in Cap G1, a guy, or not in Cap, but in front of Cap trying to protect it. A guy in G4 trying to protect it. A guy in Cap on J2, and a guy who I don't know what he's doing in H3. Right? And the problem with that is, let's see, just control bring it up. Yeah, here we go. Right? So we've got a guy here, guy here, guy here, guy here. These three tanks should be up here in this field. Right? They have to be engaging because these tank destroyers right here are just going to shoot on a Cap and continue to reset. Right? They're not doing any good. Especially this guy over here. He's got nice long range shots, but the problem again is that because these tanks are not pushing up, this guy isn't going to be able to finish. What they needed to do is they either needed to push as a whole, wish I could draw, they need to push as a whole up into here, or they needed to fall back into this area, or fall all the way back and defend Cap and then push out again. Otherwise, as we're going to see, these guys are just going to get killed for basically free because they're trying to do too many things at once. Alright, let's get going. So we've got two heavy tanks who are doing quite a bit of damage to this Leopard, and he's just not able to get through this STI and the M103. So there goes the T-44 that was sitting in cap. That's one tank down. There goes the T-69 that was hiding at G right here for no kills. The T-54 cleaned up the STI. So they still got an M103 and a Super Pershing. Super Pershing takes a double hit. Puts a shell into the ground on that T-26E4. Alright, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about this game again. So, what we're seeing now, let me advance a little bit more in the game just so we can see. Alright, so, what do we have, right? We have, let me go over here. So we have an M103 over here and a T-26E4 over here that have been capping for basically the whole time along with an STI. They've been up against a T-54E1, a Leopard, and a T-28 prototype, it looks like. And there was another tank over there too, but the point I'm trying to make is that they made the same mistake that the other team did, right? They moved into cap and they just sat there. And they were like, oh, I could just sit here and blah, 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 blah. The problem is you can't. You cannot do that. They had the upper hand by far, but rather than trying to cap it out, they should have pushed forward. Push into the enemy. Because if you just let them take their shots, if you're not perfectly protected, then they'll just reset. Right? You could reset with an HE round. You only need 1 point of damage. So if you're just trying to hold cap, if you've got, let's say, it doesn't even matter, right? If you've got a tank that can put out reliable damage on a flank, like the T-54 has been doing, right? So you've got a guy that put out reliable damage on a flank, and then you've got a guy in a position to reset, you're never going to get cap. And really, this Leopard doesn't even have to be shooting his APCR normal rounds. He could be firing HE every time. Because it's enough damage to... All you have to do is damage it. I don't even think you have to do real damage. I think you just have to do module damage, right? Which an HE round is going to do. So the fact that they're sitting in cap means that they're wasting their opportunity. But you had 3 tanks that moved into cap. You had the Super Pershing, which is really, really good front armor, still, even after the patch. So it's still a tank that's really dangerous. Number 2, you had the STI, phenomenally armored tank from the front, right? You saw the Leopard bounce off of it multiple times. That's an indication, right? Tier 9 tank, top gun, bouncing off your frontal armor. M103, also really good frontal armor. I mean, you can still get into the lower plate, but good frontal armor, really good turret armor, right? So we've got 3 heavily armored from the front tanks that if they're not pushing and making use of that armor, they're going to get hammered. And that's what we're seeing here, right? In this battle, we're seeing that these 3 tanks that could have absolutely dominated the railway and the game would be over. It'd be like 15-8, right? Game done, or maybe even worse. Instead, they're sitting in cap trying to do a little bit of damage, and instead they're just getting hammered. So, what's the lesson here? Don't be content with sitting in cap. Push forward, right? Don't... If you're dead, or if you're almost dead, then I understand trying to protect yourself. But in a lot of situations, it's almost always better to push forward. Almost always. Because by having even just 1 tank as a protective field, as a protective barrier, means that the enemy team has to engage them first. Right? This map would have been totally different if the STI and the M103 had all pushed forward and the Super Pershing had sat and capped. Right, any number of things. They have 3 tanks there. They don't need all 3 to cap, right? It's, you know that there's enemy tanks there. You know that they're shooting at you. You have to go to them. You have to engage them. Otherwise, they will snipe you out, and you will lose. Period. All right, back to the game. So, Here we have Leopard taking shots. He's missing a lot, but that's not the important part. The important part is that, look at that, the M103 just died, right? So we've got a dead M103. Sure, we lost everything on the south, but this game could be over by now.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe he doesn't know quite where to shoot the superversion, but that's okay. He's still taking a lot of shots from this this T-54E1, who is just doing phenomenal.
Got him.
All right, and there goes the T-26. So what's left? Well, they've still got a lot of tanks. They're low tier, right? I mean, look at that, right? There's 2 tier 9s and a tier 8 versus 3 tier 8s, a tier 7, and a tier 6. But that's a lot of tanks, and they don't know where they are. So what would I do in this situation if I had a bunch of tanks? Well, I would probably leave 1 tank destroyer to defend Cap from the railroad line. So I'd have him post up over there. And then I would take all my other tanks and push up through the town. It looks like in this case they're actually going to push up through the railway, which might be a smart move. And in this case it will be, but because they know that they can engage them one at a time. And that's not necessarily what I would have done, but that's okay. So IS-3 takes out the T-28 prototype, so now it's 1 tier 9 tank versus a lot of tanks. There's an SU. He knows he's there, he's going to try and get a shot. No dice. That T-54 is at full health. There's the shot, takes down the SU. So now it's 2 versus 5. And he's been spotted. But the T-54 is reloading, and he's not in a good spot. 1,300 damage means that those tanks, especially if all 3 heavies rolled him at once, would kill him. 100%. So he's been spotted. Here comes the IS-3. Here comes the T-34. Here comes the other IS-3. Takes a shell. Puts one to the IS-3. IS-3 rams him. Oh, puts one into the dirt. And the T-54 goes down. So, 1 versus
Penetration.
5. But those 3 heavies are all one-shots.
Enemy armor is
And now the AC is as well. So he just has to make sure that he doesn't take more than 1 shot from any tank, and he'll be okay. And the one tank we haven't seen is the T-37. But frankly, the T-37 isn't the problem, right? You've got a T-34 with 400 damage, 2 IS-3s with 390, and that AC-48 who is probably sitting somewhere between 3 and 400, depending on the gun. Alright, he's been spotted. He's got to back up. With that kind of spot, that's probably the T-37, although it's hard to say. The T-34 could have binoculars or who knows what else. So he's trying to play passive because he knows he's got to. He's going to push out, see if he can get some spotting. Let's see how this defense goes. Alright, there's an IS-3. Shot in. And he doesn't take one from the other IS-3. There's 1 down, 4 to go. Takes a shell from that T-37. I knew he'd show up eventually. Thankfully, with a high roll, that T-37's a 1-shot. So if he rolls out, he's dead. And I think he's expecting him to. Let's see if he does. There he is. Oh, crosses between. Can't get a shot off. But the T-37 got the spot, which is important for their team. So he's sitting at 4 kills. If we can get these other 4. Oh, stupid shot. I don't like that one at all. The IS-3, though, puts one into that dirt, not realizing you can't shoot through that. He's got to be extra careful now. He's definitely a two-shot from just anything. So there's the IS-3. IS-3 down. All right. If he can take out the T-34... The poor E-75, who died like a bitch, doesn't understand. Oh, the T-34 clutches the shot. All right, this is the point in which he has to push the T-34. The T-34 has a much longer reload. You can get the kill right here. Bang. Nice. All right, so he's got the T-34. He's got 2 tanks left. AC is only down to 100 and something. The T-37 is a one-shot if he rolls high. Oh, T-37 took a hit. Must have taken a hit that I must have missed. So T-37 is a one-shot. The one-shot. Just a kill on T-37. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up on that AC-48. Just looking for that shell. The AC-48 is in the open. Shot. He'll eat the shell. Misses. Alright, now it's dangerous. Now he's got to move up. He knows he's got the reload, so he's got to push. If he doesn't push, then he's waiting. He's waiting for the AC-48 to make a mistake. The AC-48's in a position right now. If he can push up and cap, then he can force our PTA to engage him. But what he has to do is he has to push up. And part of the problem is that STI, that T-2064, and that M103 are all in bad positions. So he pushes up, bounces. At this point, he should probably be loading either gold or heat. Or heat or HE. I personally would probably have loaded HE on this point. But he's going to put an HE round right here. Get the kill. Well done. 8 kills. Pulls the win. A Kolobanovs. Just a phenomenal game. Now, I know I spoiled the beginning by telling you guys that he got a Kolobanovs. But the important part is watching his decision making. Just smart play there at the end. Right? He understands that they're going to come to him, so he doesn't go rush out and try and get the kills. He waits for them to come. They come one at a time like a bunch of morons. And he kills them off, right? If they had gone, if those 3 heavy tanks that were all one-shot kills had all pushed him at the same time, they only need 2 shots to hit. That's it. And he can only kill one of them. So if all 3 roll him at the same time, guess what? It's game over, right? It's over at that point. There's nothing they can do because each of them has enough damage to kill him in 2 shots. But instead they went one at a time and he was able to pick them off easily. So well played to our Leopard PTA on this last game. Phenomenal decision making and a good way to take advantage of a team that was just making too many mistakes. Alright, that's game number 3 in the bag. We're done. Next week, actually not next week, I'm going to try and do these 3 a week now. So what's going to happen is I've got the RU-251 scheduled and the T-52 lightweight both scheduled as a weekly kind of thing. But I got bored with that and I decided I kind of want to do more than just a show a week. So today was the Leopard PTA. I'm going to be releasing it. And then you'll see the 54 lightweight is coming out on Wednesday and the RU-251 is coming out next Wednesday. But I think I'm going to do one today, tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm going to get one on Thursday. That's Thanksgiving. We'll see. I might do one Friday. We'll see. So it may only be 2 this week, plus the one that I've already scheduled for Wednesday. So you'll see 2 on Wednesday for sure. Maybe 1 on Thursday. We'll see. But I want to try and do more because I enjoy this. I'm having a lot of fun. The replays are awesome. So if you guys have replays, if you have a tank suggestion, please leave a comment below. I read them, I check them. So I mean, right now the fan base is like 30, right? So I want to try and build a thing here. I want to know if you guys like what I'm doing. If you like what you see, let's put it this way: if you like what you see, leave a like, and please leave a comment if you want any feedback, or if you can give any feedback. I would love it. I'd love to know if the audio quality is still good, because it's sounding okay for me, but I need to know for you guys how the balance is, because things can play differently. I know the lighting is a little funky, right? Because it's not perfect. Sorry. So anyway, good game. Let me pull up my list of what is next. Give me a second. I can never remember where I save things, so I kind of always just have to go find it. I always have this weird hiccup thing. All right, let's see. Next is the Ferdinand. So the Tier 8, one of the three technically, Tier 8 German tank destroyers. Ferdinand is one of the original ones. I think it's the one that used to be called the Elephant. God, that really makes me look pasty. Okay, yeah, so Ferdinand, and then if I get to Thursday will be the Type 59. The tank that everyone wants and no one can get anymore. Oh, no, sorry, Type 59 will be next week. It looks like actually the AMX-12T, Tier 6 Frank Light tank is next up after the Ferdinand. And again, if you guys have a favorite tank that you want me to review, or not review, I'm not doing reviews yet, but if you want me to go over some replays and we'll do some analyses, we'll definitely get into that. All right, awesome. You guys have a happy tanking, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.